Good morning. Kristen, you were going to say good morning too. I
was totally going to say good morning and you took it, but we can all say good morning. Hello.
We can all say good morning because it's a Masterclass Monday and those are my favorites.
Well, and it's afternoon for most people. I feel like it's only really morning for like PST and that's it. It's like good morning for you.
Well, because what? It is actually 11 for you, right? Because you're
at 11:30.
Mm-hmm. Time struggles, Elena, are always an issue for us because Kristen sets everything in her Arizona calendar, and then twice a year it disrupts.
Oh, yes, Arizona. I have a friend in Arizona, and I also have a group of friends where like some are PST and one is MST, and then she's Arizona. So now we're juggling like four time zones, but then plus Arizona. Like, wait, no, you didn't switch. So what does that mean now?
Yep.
Here's the thing though. I will tell you, because I have calls with people from everywhere, just like both of you do. Everyone struggles with this, just like they struggle with a CRM. Like these are two things that I would say are the biggest
the two biggest struggles.
So speaking of that, that leads us right into our masterclass today. If you guys have not gotten a chance to meet Elena, she is amazing. And she is going to be teaching us the 5 pillars for setting up a CRM for success. And we talk about this a lot. Like this is something that, like I said, everyone struggles with, and it shouldn't be that much of a struggle. So I'm excited today because she's going to help us with managing our CRM so that it doesn't feel like a full-time job. I feel like it feels like a full-time job. So I'm excited to learn from you. And the description of this class, you guys, I'm going to read it because it's really good. So if your leads are scattered, your follow-ups are inconsistent, or you're spending more time figuring out who to call than actually calling them, this session's for you, because she's going to take us and break down how to organize our CRM so that it actually works for you instead of against you. So welcome and let's get going.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's always a learning experience. It's never going to be like done and I've got it and I've learned it. So that's something that I'm learning and have learned over the past 10 plus years working in CRMs is you're always going to involve what you learned, but these are like the 5 core pillars for a CRM to be successful. So I'm excited to dive in. As Kristen mentioned, my name's Elena, and we help solo agents, teams, and brokerages help set up their CRM. So if any of this feels overwhelming to you, we're happy to help as well. So yes, I'll go ahead and go ahead.
And real quick, Elena, so we have lots of people in the class with us. So this is presented like a webinar, guys. So you'll be able to see, and then just know comments. Like you can also drop your comments in. And so she's going to go ahead and go through her presentation, and then we'll open it up for questions. So every question that you have, we'll get to. So just drop those in there, and we'll be saving those for the end.
Cool. So let me share a screen and. Does that work? Do you see the screen okay?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
All righty. So before I dive into the first pillar, the goal for today's session is so that you have a foundation for your CRM. So there's a lot of different directions and rabbit holes you can go down when you open up your CRM. There's a lot of cool things you can do within it, but we're going to avoid going down those rabbit holes today. So for those of you who are with us live, I'm curious if you can put in the comments, like which bucket would you consider yourself in, A, B, or C? So A is your CRM is just a paid address book. You're not really using it other than storing some contacts. B is you've done so much in it. You've created so many different things. You have gone down all the rabbit holes. You don't know what's going on anymore. Or you're in bucket C where you've set up some things, but you're still not fully taking advantage of your CRM. So I see.
Brandy, what bucket are you in?
C.
Yeah, that's what Mariana said.
Yeah.
C was a C.
Yep, she's in C to B. We have a B. So we have a few different ones. Looks like we have another B.
Good. Well, this is all for you for the 5 pillars. As we go through the pillars, it will get more and more advanced. So if you are watching the first 2 and you think, oh, I already know all of this stuff, just wait till the end. It gets more advanced, just depending on if you're an A, B, or C. So pillar 1 is how you manage your follow-up. So part of the description was if you're spending too much time trying to figure out who to call every day, most people spend anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes just to create their call list, to prioritize who to call. then pillar 1 is for you. So the traditional follow-up, or I guess the standard practice of follow-up, is to use tasks. Like, it just feels nice to create tasks. It feels nice to go, oh, I need to make sure I don't forget about that person. Let me set myself up for a task to follow up with them tomorrow or next week or a month. Or maybe you really like automated tasks for the people in bucket C. You set up some things, but you're not using it to the full advantage. Maybe you have set up some automated tasks for either brand new leads that come in from online lead generation, if you do that, or leads from open houses. Like, you say, okay, I've got this workflow created. I've got these tasks assigned to say, okay, as soon as the lead comes in, I'll assign myself a task, or I'll assign someone on my team a task. And then they need to be assigned a task the next day, because our SOP is you need to call once a day for the first 7 days. So they'll get a task every day for 7 days. The problem with tasks is, oh, and someone says sound keeps dropping. Is it okay for you both, Kristen and Randy?
Mine's good.
Okay, good. So the
I'm
problem
good.
with that is a task can pile on really quickly. Like, I don't know if you're anything like me. When I was originally using tasks, I would fall behind, where it's like, oh, I didn't get through all 20 tasks today. So they roll over to the next day. Then they roll over to the next day. And soon you've got 50 overdue tasks, 100 overdue tasks, and you just have this giant list of follow-ups of tasks to call, and they're not arranged in any particular order, unless maybe you named some of your tasks like important in all caps or something, so you remember about it. Instead, it becomes one giant list. And if you're someone who automates tasks and you do have that process where, like, hey, I want my team or I want myself to call once a day for the first 7 days. If you're 1, 2, 3 days behind, now you're going to see duplicate tasks. Like, if I were a lead in your CRM and you say, okay, I want to make sure I call Elena on day 1 and then call her on day 2 and day 3. Well, if it's been 2 or 3 days and those tasks have rolled over, now you're going to see 3 tasks for Elena. And now you're wondering, well, what do I do? Do I just check them off even though I didn't actually do it? Do I manually push them forward? So that is the downside to tasks. They do have their time and place, and I'll share with you what that is, but the tasks can be shifted away into a different way. So I'm curious whose tasks look like this. I did an audit of someone's CRM and I looked at their overdue tasks, and they had over 1,000 overdue just for one person. Yeah, Randy, raising your hand.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Because we used to work top producer back in the day, and so our rule was just 0 out. But it does, like, I feel like in Follow Up Boss, I had Follow Up Boss for probably 3 years, and I wasn't using Smart List. And then I was like, oh, I probably should use Smart List. This would make my life a lot easier.
Yeah, you're segueing exactly into where I'm going. So the whole goal of this webinar is to be CRM agnostic, but I am showing screenshots specifically from Follow Boss. If anything, make sure you choose a CRM that has the functionality to create saved filters or saved lists, so that you can move away from tasks, and instead of 1,000 overdue, you maybe have 5. So as Randy was segueing into, pillar number 1 is using smart lists. Some CRMs call it smart filters. This is just a quick screen grab of what ours looks like. Next to each list, like I've got it highlighted on the first one, your current and pending clients, there's a number next to them. Like, this is team-wide. They have 77 current clients. Team-wide, there are 34 new leads with no call attempt, and so on. So the number next to it is the team-wide numbers, not like the individual agents' numbers. So the benefit to Smart Lists is they're going to automatically help you segment and prioritize who to call. So I added up all of these numbers across these, 12 lists, and that's over 2,000 people or 2,000 tasks. So that's why Smart Lists are so powerful, is you can say, well, of course, I'm not going to be able to call through 2,000 people in one day, but I can at least prioritize the first 4 or 5 lists. And then if it would be nice to get through the top 6 lists. And then if you have time, go through the rest. But the highest priority lists are at the top, is ordered in number of importance. And what's really cool about Smart Lists is you can create them to be dynamic, which means They automatically add people or remove people from one list to another based on filters that you set up, like how old the lead is, when was your last call, what stage are they in, have they done any recent activity that you would consider high or medium or low priority. So here are some example filters for that new lead no call attempt list. You can use these filters in almost any CRM. So essentially, last call is empty. That's how the CRM knows you haven't made a call attempt. Now, spoiler alert, in order for these to work, you actually have to use the CRM and you actually have to use the dialer. That's the only way the CRM is going to know that you made a call or did not make a call. So using the dialer, adding it on if you're a solo user in Follow Up Boss, it's an optional add-on. It's very much worth it, not only for the call recording and the filters, but also for the AI summary. So using the dialer, if you log a call, then the person's not on this list. They have to have a good number. So these lists, especially the first few ones, are only going to show you leads that actually have a good number to call. These are calling lists. I'll show you what you do with the people who don't have a good number in a little bit. Then the way the CRM knows that the lead is new, we categorize someone as new if they're less than 14 days old. And the stage is still lead, meaning you haven't reached them, but you're continuing to try or you need to make your first attempt. Does that make sense? So far, before I move on, I have a tendency to talk too fast. So I want to make sure that's good so far.
You're doing great.
Okay, cool. So then let's pretend that you call someone, but you don't reach them. I forgot to grab a screen grab here, but essentially you would use the dialer and log the call. And as soon as that call gets logged, that number 34 drops to number 33. That person gets removed from the list automatically as soon as you log the call. Now, if you didn't reach them, that's all you do. You just log the call and move on to the next person. And then what will happen is the next day, where the arrow is pointing, the next day, the lead goes to the next list that we've created. And you can see the filters here. They're kind of cut off, but the top filter says last communication more than 1 day ago. So rather than having a task reminded you to call once a day for the first X amount of days, we're using the lists. Calls made less than 10. So based on our research, and I'm sure you would agree, you need to make more than 2 calls to leads, especially if you're doing online lead gen, in order to make an initial connection. So people are going to keep showing up once a day until either you've connected with them and changed the stage, or you've made at least 10 call attempts before we say, okay, we're going to take a break from this lead. So calls made less than 10, but you have made a call, so call is not empty anymore. Their phone is still labeled as good. They're still considered new because they're less than 14 days old. They're still not reached. Their stage is still lead. Here are some other examples from that first screen share I showed you of the list. So once you make connection with a person, you might wonder, okay, well, now do I use tasks? Now do I go over there like I had a conversation? Yes or no, depending on what happened from the conversation. Most leads, the answer is no. And that's because you can use a hot weekly list. So if you speak with someone, they need to remain top of mind for you, then you would want to use something like a stage called hot. I call it a hot 1 to 3 months. Like some people like ABC, some people like the time frames in there. So we do both. Some people like the words hot, warm, cold. So we just put all 3 into the stage name for those who, depending on what you like, with the last communication being more than 7 days ago, more than once a week. So this does not include any automated messaging in our filters. So it does not include like a newsletter being sent either through the CRM or through a third-party connection. And it does not include like automated emails through a drip campaign. And it does not include just those 2. And so it requires, in other words, it requires a manual attempt. It requires a manual call, a manual text, or a manual email in order for them to be removed from this list. So people will keep showing up indefinitely once a week to reach out to them. And we sort the list on the right-hand side. You'll see the last communication filter. We sort the list by oldest communication to newest. That way, you're not seeing the same 5 people over and over again because that's all the time that you have each day to get to them. So you'll see here at the top, is the oldest person that's hot. Maybe they shouldn't be in the hot list anymore. 6 months ago was the last communication. So that person will be there until you call. Then they'll move to the bottom of the list since they're your most recent attempt or recent connection. Now, where do tasks fit? The way you're able to go from 1,000 tasks to 5 is you only use a task whenever a list cannot cover your needs. So let's say you talk to someone and they say, hey, I'm at work, please call me today at 5 or tomorrow at 5. Then you obviously can't create a list for that. You need to create a task to remind yourself tomorrow at 5 or today at 5, or it's a very specific day that they asked you to call. Otherwise, most general follow-ups, most general new lead attempts can be covered by the smart lists and the smart filters in your CRM. The other big use case that we use tasks for is for our admin, for our TCs with checklists. So within our CRM, we also use it for transaction management. That's the bulk of the tasks that we use in the CRM is reminders for the TC to do various tasks whenever you take a listing or whenever you have an admin who needs to like drop by and put the lockbox in. Like that's a checklist essentially via task in the CRM. Okay, pillar 2, supplement your efforts with campaigns and action plans is what the CRM calls it. I will say not all drip campaigns are created equal, so you can't just either come up with it yourself or just prompt GPT with like write a drip campaign for home buyers or buy something online that you see. There are going to be decent campaigns. There are going to be not so good drip campaigns. And if you've ever used them, you may or may not already have like a predetermined idea of what a drip campaign is. You may have a preconceived notion that because you had a bad experience with the drip campaign in the past, then they're all bad. But there is a way to craft campaigns and craft them via automation to ensure that they actually are set up for success and to help you. So we're going to supplement your efforts. So your efforts being calling through the lists, zeroing them out, as Randy said, and calling through the minimal tasks with those campaigns. But in order for a campaign to be successful, you have 2 battles to face. First is you don't want your emails to end up in spam folders or promotion folders. And then you also want them to be opened and responded to. That's A or B are where most drip campaigns fail. So I'm not going to turn this into an email deliverability webinar, but I will give you like some quick recommendations for how to overcome the first battle of avoiding the spam folder or the promotion folder. The first is a simple one. Hopefully the majority of people on this webinar already follow this. The email you use to send emails in your CRM should not be a free email address. You should be paying for an email address. I personally am a big fan of Google Workspace. You can also use Office 365. But if your email ends in gmail.com, hopefully not AOL.com or hotmail.com, then you need to upgrade to a paid one. So what paid means is like, let's say, for example, my website is keetechnology.com. That's what my email is. My email isn't elena@gmail.com. My email is elena@keetechnology.com. Most folks on this call hopefully have that set up. If not, it's super easy to do. Just like search Google Workspace and you can create that free email account, or not free, the paid Google Workspace account. Then the next is you need to maintain a healthy reputation of that email account. That's called domain reputation. In order to maintain a healthy reputation, you want to make sure you're only emailing people that opted in to be emailed from you. So I know that some people's business plan is to get leads from expireds or for sale by owners or circle prospecting. That's a great way to generate business. Just don't cold email them, because if you cold email them, especially in bulk, they're going to mark you as spam and they're going to block you. And those markings as spam and blocking you talk back to the email providers, and then that quickly ruins your email reputation. You want to segment who you email, especially when you're batch emailing. So if you have a new listing up for sale, don't just batch email all 3,000 people in your database. think intentionally of who would actually find this useful, and avoid spam trigger words. So you can just Google spam trigger words to avoid. That list is ever evolving. I don't think I'm sharing them here because of how ever evolving it is. Just do a quick Google or GPT search on what are common spam trigger words to avoid when writing emails. That can be like no obligation or even like cash offer. Like I know some of you get cash offer leads. Believe it or not, you cannot say, I received your inquiry about a cash offer. You have to reword it. Both the words cash and offer automatically get you filtered. And then avoid too much formatting or too many links, too much HTML formatting, too many images. I categorize them as like pretty emails or like newsletter type emails or really long emails. I'll get like a really long scrollable email that looks really nice from my personal agent, but a lot of times they end up in spam because the email providers are not even spam, just promotions, because the email provider says, oh, this has a lot of links. This has a lot of pictures. This is heavily formatted. This is a newsletter. This is a promotion. My Gmail automatically filters them to the promotion folder. I never look at my promotion folder. So that's the majority of people. Your email's not even going to get seen. And then getting responses. You want to get an open, you want to get a response. You want to send emails that are plain text. Oh yeah, guilty. I love pretty. Yeah, I know. We all love pretty emails. Send emails that are plain text. So we try to keep emails short. We try to keep emails to have 3 links or less. And we want to make it look like a human sent them. So just as if like you were typing out an email on your iPhone, you know, how to send by iPhone, which I know some people even do that in a drip campaign. So it looks like it was personally written. It looks like a human sent it. It doesn't look like an automated email. It doesn't look like a newsletter. And it asks a question because you want to not only get them to open your email or open your text, you want them to actually respond. You don't want them to just open the email and go, huh, and then archive it. So here are some examples to get your creative juices flowing. Hopefully you can see this okay and the text isn't too small. So you can use the framework like, I just received your request regarding a home for sale. What's prompting your interest in this home? Depending on like where you're receiving leads from and the type of lead, and if they're inquiring on a specific home, you could personalize it more with a merge field. Like I received your request regarding the home for sale at 123 Main Street. That alone, like just those 2 sentences, the last one being the question, is enough to get someone to respond because one, most leads, especially if you're doing lead generation or if leads are coming in through like a Zillow, or you might reframe this to work for a payout referral, a payout closing, referral, lead sources. Most people through online lead gen don't know who you are. And they, as a result, are not going to read long emails. People are already busy enough. So we get the higher response rate when the emails are shorter. Then the next day we send something like, if you're anything like me, you want to stay informed on how the market's performing, average price homes are selling for, how competitive the market is for buyers. Would help if we schedule a time to chat to discuss the current market conditions and how they relate to your goals. You can flip that if you get a seller lead. If you're anything like me, blah, 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 how competitive market is for sellers. Would it be helpful if we schedule a time chat? So just to give you a flip side idea. And then on the right-hand side, some other ideas. The whole goal of these emails are to be empathetic. So like this second email here is like, you want to stay informed. You want to know how competitive it is. And then the next one, you might feel like you're alone with the questions you have. The subject line, I think, is, are you overwhelmed? Would it help if we connected over the phone about your questions? Again, that can be rewritten for a buyer. Buying a home can be overwhelming. So those are some examples. So we keep, for leads that you haven't reached, we keep the email short, sweet, to the point, just asking a question. Our whole goal is to start a conversation. These supplement your efforts. We also include text messages, but they don't replace your efforts. So we're doing like a multi-channel approach here with your calls and then these automated texts and emails. And somewhere is their preferred way of communicating. That's how they'll respond. So here's an example for, like, you might say, well, I have created a lot of like great content. I've created these guides, I've created these videos, I've created these infographics. Are you saying I can't use them? I'm not saying you can't use them. I say you use them once you've earned the trust and the permission to send them. So with new leads, when they don't know who you are, you have not received their permission to send that content to them. So until then, you do those reply-based emails. Then once you make a connection, that's whenever we switch over to a nurturing campaign. About every other email is a educational content piece, and then a check-in reply-based email again. So this is just an example. We regularly adjust the videos that are posted here because this client of ours just pumps out a ton of content. But this is like an about us video, and then questions to ask when you're looking to hire an agent, how to price your home right, along with a question in the middle between those emails. So we flip-flop back and forth. The way that you select the type of content to create or the type of content to include that's educational, think through what's going to be still relevant a year from now. So if you notice, none of these emails are talking about the current market, how interest rates just hit an all-time low in the past. What was it? Since the past 3 years? What was that announcement just this past week? Those that are specific to what's happening now are great batch emails or newsletters, but are not good for a drip campaign. A drip campaign is something that you want to include evergreen content is what I call it, where it's relevant today, it's relevant 6 months from now, and you don't have to remember to change out the content because now interest rates are not at an all-time low, because that changes every day. You use the batch email or newsletter feature instead for the now emails. Okay, pillar 3 is utilizing automation to automate those drip campaigns. Take advantage of automation for your different workflows, for your lead flow. Even if you don't do lead generation, consider lead flow for open houses that you host. Consider lead flow for people that you meet in person. Consider lead flow for events that you host, for referrals that you receive from past clients from your sphere, from your network. Having that lead flow in place for those various lead sources is what's going to make your life a lot easier. Lead flows and automations for whenever you do change the stage. Automations for whenever the lead does something. If you have an integrated platform with your CRM, like your website, IDX platforms, home search platforms, home seller platforms. There are lots of different integrations out there in the world. So here's a few examples. It's a little bit small here, but on the left side, this person uses an integration with Real Scout and Follow Boss. And so anytime someone does something in Real Scout, they receive a specific tag according to their activity. So the tag that's shown here is Real Scout HVA viewed. That means the person looked at their home valuation report. I think by default, Real Scout will send the home valuation report once a month. We have some conditions in place to where we only send this automated campaign if they are a certain stage, if we haven't talked to them recently, or they're older than so many days old, because this does read like a new lead reach out. It does read as if you haven't connected with the lead yet. So we don't want to send this to someone that you just had a conversation with, or to a past client, or to someone you're already actively talking to. The middle example is what most people use. As long as you have a website and IDX provider that is integrated either with your CRM or is built into the CRM, you can use an automation like this, where someone views a property or someone saves a property. We have a ton of filters here. It's kind of hard to see, but we have a lot of conditions to make sure, again, we're not emailing the wrong people. And that's where a lot of people's fears are with drip campaigns. And you say, well, drip campaigns, like, they can work, but I don't want to piss someone off, or I don't want to send the email out to the wrong person. Like, I don't want my past client to get this. That's where conditions are used, and why we have so many stacked is like, they have to be older than so many days old. We couldn't have talked to them in the past 3 months. They need to be excluding people who are past client, only include people in the lead stage, exclude realtors, only send to people who haven't been emailed recently, last sent action plan email more than X amount of days ago. We stack those filters so that you aren't either making someone upset or you aren't looking silly. And then the third example is, if you remember from the smart list or the smart filter screen grabs, when you make a connection with someone, You not only want them to show up on a list to remind you to call like once a week for hots, or every 14 days for warms, or every 60 days for colds, whatever it is. You also want to supplement your efforts with a nurture campaign like I just showed you a slide ago. So in this example, it's twofold. One, you change the stage, and two, the lead is also tagged by their client type. So this example here is saying, okay, we tag them as a buyer and their stage does hot, warm, or cold. We initiate the nurture buyer campaign. And we get really granular with this. This is just like a catch-all buyer campaign, but we create some for like new construction or investor, or on the seller side, like their probate, they're right now a FSBO. Right now they're only considering off market. We create tags for each of those to say the stage is warm and they're tagged as off market. Their stage is hot and their tag is new construction. That way the campaign is relevant to their goals. Okay, pillar 4. This used to not exist, but because there's some hesitancy with it, I added this in. There used to only be 4 pillars. Now there's 5. Use the dialer. I said it towards the beginning of this. You need to use the dialer, make calls. Don't just rely on these automations to convert leads for you. We recently had a past client that we work with, come back to us and say, hey, like what you set up for me is not working. And I looked at, number one, I looked at their inbox and I said, you have 30 people who responded to either a text message or an email from an automated campaign that you didn't ever do anything with. You didn't even respond back to them. You didn't pick up the phone, and they didn't realize they needed to check their inbox. But 2, I said, well, when I look at reporting, there are 0 calls logged for the past 60 days. So of course this isn't working. This is not meant to just do everything for you. If you use AI, if you use like any AI like texting or calling, that's not going to do everything for you. You still need to have the human in the loop. You still need to have the human relationship involved. So utilize the dialer to save you time rather than using your personal cell phone. Plus the CRM we use, Follow Boss, generates an AI call summary, generates recommended. Now this is, again, a little bit risky here. It suggests tasks, which again, I try to stay away from tasks. You can see that in the screenshot here. So use that with a grain of salt. I'd recommend, unless necessary, just use the smart list unless you actually do need to set a task for a specific day or time. So this is just a visual representation of what I've shared so far. So I've said there's 5 pillars, but there are 2 main components as a whole for CRM success. Component 1 is your active follow-up, and component 2 is the passive follow-up. So on the right-hand side is your active follow-up that I've shown you the calls that you make, the smart list you call through, the minimal tasks that you get through, and the inbox you clear out. Make sure you clear out your inbox and respond to those incoming texts and emails and calls. On the left-hand side is what supplements your active follow-up effort by sending the value-driven content in the nurture campaigns, the reply-based texts and emails in the new lead campaigns, using automations and action plans to organize those emails and texts you've written. Then above and below the center bubble is everything that drives the active and passive follow-up. So at the top of the bubble, you'll see last communication. That determines which smart list they're in. The stage of the lead determines which smart list they're in and which automation they're added to. Client behavior, looking at the home valuation report, requesting a custom home value, looking at properties for sale, requesting a cash offer. That would put them in a different automation whenever they do that activity. Plus, it would put them in a higher priority list. In the screenshot I showed you of lists, I didn't include those examples. I just showed examples as if you were just using Follow Boss as is. But when you add in tools like Real Scout, Fellow, Ylopo, Rooster, I can't think of all the names. Whenever you Easy Home Search, when you use tools like that, you can use those tools to your advantage to prioritize people up higher when they do certain activities. Like someone requesting a custom report is more important than someone just looking at the report, is more important than just someone looking at a home for sale. But someone requesting a showing on a property is more important than someone just looking at a home for sale. So using those behaviors to create those lists to help you prioritize to go from 300 people being active to These are my top 2 people that requested a showing. And then these are the other 100 that were just browsing my website. Then below the circle is age of the lead determines the priority of lists that they're on. Tags determines which automation they're added to. And the number of temps determines which list and when they appear on each list. So hopefully that makes sense. But those are just some of the main filters that we use to determine how to prioritize people in a smart list and which automation to initiate. Okay, pillar number 3 is creating SOPs for anything that you do in your CRM. So people in the bucket C, this is the most important for you, is creating a standard operating procedures. That's what SOP means. For you, if you're a solo agent, it's still just as important if you have a team. So even if you think, well, it's just me, I don't need to create SOPs, you do. You're going to forget what you did. First, set clear daily expectations for you and or your team members of what to do each day. Make sure that those are realistic for them. So let's say you do want your agents to call their leads once a day for the first 7 days. That's a great goal to have. Is it realistic based on the number of leads you're giving them? If you're giving them too many leads, it's just never going to happen, no matter how amazing your SOPs are. The hot weekly list, that's great in theory. But again, like you saw the screenshot I showed you, one person had been sitting there for 6 months. Their hot list is probably too large for them to handle. Most people have like 200, 300 plus people in their hot list. Some folks I'll talk to, they'll say, actually, I want us to follow up with hot leads every 3 days. I'll look at their CRM and say, well, you already have 600 people overdue in the weekly. How do you think you're going to handle every 3 days if you can't handle once a week? So any expectation you put in place, it needs to be realistic. If it's not, evaluate the number of leads you're giving agents, evaluate what the cutoff is, or have a conversation with those agents if it is realistic and they're still not hitting those markers. Define the stages that you create in your CRM. Don't assume that yourself is going to remember what you meant when you created that stage, and don't assume that your team members are going to know what that stage means. So a team call I was on, they had a stage called nurture. Everyone had a different definition of what nurture meant. And so as a result, like all of the wrong things were happening. Like your worst nightmare about automations, doing the wrong thing to the wrong person, that was happening to this team. And the reason why is the team leader said, the team leader knew what it meant, but did not communicate it to the rest of the team. The team leader defined nurture as someone you've talked to and you need to nurture them. So it's kind of like an alternative to a hot or a warm stage. When someone got moved to the nurture stage, that would initiate a nurture campaign. And the first email says, thank you so much for connecting. Other team members assumed that meant, oh, that's an older lead I haven't reached. I want to nurture them. So they were putting tons of leads into the nurture stage, and people were receiving an email saying, thanks for talking to me. And the agent was confused and the lead was confused, and they were blaming the system saying, why is it sending this wrong email? This is terrible system. Just turn it all off. You know, this is broken. But it was because that those definitions were not set in place of what the nurture stage actually meant and where those people should have actually just stayed in the lead stage in order to avoid that from happening. As you build your automation, so people in group C, I can also be guilty of this too, of like, wait, have I already built this? I come up with an idea and I think it's new and I start to create it. And I'm like, wait, maybe I should check to make sure I haven't already created this. Outline anytime you create a new automation into a central document so that you aren't canceling yourself out with an automation that like stops it or is running at the same time. I'll look at people's accounts and sometimes they have like 5 automations running at the same time, and that should not be happening. Someone just asked in the Follow Boss group, I think it was today or yesterday, a client of mine thought that my account got hacked. They got an email saying that and the screenshot shared like, I received your information from Lawn Sign. The reason for that was 1, the source name was Lawn Sign, and 2, the automation was set up to run anytime someone did anything, regardless of what it was, and it was pulling source name in there. So the agent looked silly. The agent was freaking out that they were hacked, but that wasn't the case. It was just an automation. And I pointed that out and said, we probably just need to turn that off because she had 2 other automations running. So make sure that you outline your automations, make sure you understand the purpose behind them, and test them out on yourself. because in that instance, she probably didn't think about all the implications of creating an automation and then it accidentally saying like, I received your, or I saw you're recently active regarding lawn sign. And it just kind of sounded silly. And then bonus points if you create walkthrough videos. So some people like to read, some people like to watch, and they're visual learners. So best if you do both for both the visual learners and the readers. So here's an example of like the readers. So I mentioned top expectations. That's the top left of the screen. Top expectations for an agent on this team is to call through everyone that's in there, or make sure everyone in their active and pending clients are taken care of first, then move on to their prospecting. Bring lists from new leads, no call attempt through back to website, through if they're responding to AI, if they're raising their hand, if they're looking at their automated valuation report, down to 0. If you're limited in time, just work through the list in order. Make sure you log your call notes. Thankfully, now with the dialer, it does the AI summary, but it does not always bring in the most pertinent information into the summary. So our sales agents still put in their own like 1-sentence blurb about the call and don't just rely on the AI summary. When applicable, tag the lead. So, is this a buyer? Is this a seller? Is this an investor? Is this someone who owns land? And then change the stage. That's how the automation automatically applies to the right person. Keep your inbox at a 0, meaning you respond to every incoming call, text, or email. Keep today's tasks and overdue tasks at a 0. That is realistic as you shift away from tasks over to lists, and try at least 10 times to reach a lead via phone call. Then we define the stages underneath that. And then on the right side, it gives definitions for every smart list, like the why behind each list of who exactly are the new leads, no call attempt. Just like I showed you a little bit earlier, it's in written form. And then I created our video training library in Thinkific so I can track people's progress to make sure that the team members are actually watching and completing the lessons for the content. Thinkific used to offer a free account. Now they don't. So up to you of like what platform you use. I used to recommend this one because it's free. Now I don't know what free platform you can use for video content and tracking. I use Thinkific because of how easy it is to track people's progress, especially if you're like recruiting and onboarding agents. You can make sure they're actually completing the lessons and watching and taking the quizzes. And I think, yeah, that was the last slide. So before we go to that, I just want to make sure we answer any questions that came in from you or from the chat.
Yeah, so all the questions, and it's funny because one of my biggest questions is, I'm like, do you work with StreamYard? Because I'm like, we've got a couple kinks. We have a couple questions that aren't popping up for one reason or another, but I grabbed them. But Anita was sharing. Can you see that, Elena?
Yeah, I was importing email subscribers to FUB and also importing them from Luxury Presence through Zapier. I had an automated plan set up for people who downloaded my guide through my email service provider, but I realized I needed a Zap going back to my email to unsubscribe people, but then that created a huge loop where even Luxury Presence people who didn't download my guide were getting automation. How to fix that is very granular. So if you're pushing people from Luxury Presence to Follow Up Boss, if someone unsubscribes, to my knowledge, there's not anything you have to push back to Luxury Presence, because if they unsubscribe and you're using, let me back up. I recommend using Follow Boss as your main CRM for all of your communication. Once the lead comes in from Luxury Presence, Follow Boss is where you go. So once someone unsubscribes to something that you send in Follow Boss, there's nothing you need to do to make sure that they don't get future emails. Follow Boss automatically excludes them from any future automation or batch email because they automatically tag them and they get labeled and the email turns orange in their profile. I think that should answer the bulk of your question, but let me know if not. But yes, you do need to use Zapier with Luxury Presence to Follow Boss in order to parse over all of that information so you know they came through the guide.
Elena, on that same topic, I've heard some agents, in fact, there's a really big successful team leader out of San Diego that has a rule that they never actually email from their database unless it's like organic, regular conversation, because they don't want there to be any opt-out from anybody. So that if they're sending anything like informational, advertisement, anything, it never is coming from their database, from their CRM, because they don't want their people opt out. Do you see that a lot, or how do you see that handled?
I think there's a balance. So depending on the CRM you use and what capabilities there are, let me share this tab. There's something called power-ups and follow-ups. I highly encourage you, if this feature is available in your CRM, make sure other users in your CRM are disabled from being able to send batch emails. That's the bulk of where the problems lie, is agents take it upon themselves to batch email their database to say, oh, I have a new listing. I'm so excited. I want to write a newsletter, or I spoke to my coach. They said I should be emailing more people. This is a fast way to email 100 people at once. A lot of problems stem from this. Like you mentioned, those specific examples of like a new listing, that's a batch email. For just like overall concerns with drip campaigns, I would say using one automation with the conditions is going to help you get that. What's the phrase? I can't think of the phrase. The understanding that nothing is going to get sent to the wrong person at the right time. 2, we were looking at statistics, which I should have included in the slides. We were looking at statistics of engagements with people who implement these automations. So on average, the clients that we work with, or on average, before clients work with us, their engagement rate is 1%. And engagement rate means they either reach them via phone call or a lead responded to an email or text. Why? Because they don't have any automation set up, or the automation they've set up is no good. After working with us, our new buyer lead campaign emails only jumps from 1% to an average of 57% engagement rate.
Wow.
When we add in texting, it goes up an additional 20% to 77%. I'm bad at math. So I guess it's just a matter of making that decision of how open are you to making that change in your belief system, that fear that you want to overcome, so that you go from a 1% connection rate to a 77% connection rate. Right. On sellers, I think the average went up to 80 or 85% engagement rate for new leads. So rather than, because I know I'm not very good at visualizing numbers here. If it's a 1% engagement rate, you're connecting with 1 out of 100 people. If it's a 60% engagement rate, you're connecting with 60 out of 100 people.
Yeah, that's wildly different.
Yeah.
Anita added that she sent a monthly newsletter email from her email service provider. So
okay, so
I think a lot of us probably use like Flowdesk.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then, I mean, if you use MailChimp, then I think the two-way sync would cover those people. Flowdesk does not have like that built-in integration that MailChimp does. Number one, I'm a big fan of just sending batch emails through Follow Boss. I send like 12 a day to 12 different segments a day. And it just makes it easy for tracking purposes. Those batch emails show up in the timeline and I can see who's opened and who's clicked, and the deliverability rate is there too. If you use Flowdesk, then yes, that's probably when you have to use Zapier to push back the unsubscribe tag. I'm not sure then where that problem is happening. If you're pushing it to a different service provider outside of Luxury Presence, I'm not sure where that problem's happening with those people. That's might be a little bit more granular than for the call today. I did want to share while we're chatting, this QR code will take you to our link tree. So if you wanted to learn more about our services, if you wanted to request an audit of your CRM, if you just wanted to have a conversation, you'll see a link tree to all of those links. We also service, I forgot to mention, we service mortgage brokers as well. And coming soon, we'll service commercial agents. So all of those are good as well.
All right. So our LOs can get cleaned up too. Okay. So this is another question. I love automation, but I don't want to sound like a robot. How do I keep things efficient but keep it personal with my people?
Yeah. So one is making sure that the email you're sending is relevant to the activity happening. So whenever we're working with a client, let's take new leads, for example, we take a look at the lead source, what the person's inquiring on, and taking all of that into consideration, make sure that the email is referencing what actually they're doing. That, believe it or not, is like 80% of the problem. People just create one blanket campaign for every single lead, and then they get mad whenever it sounds terrible because they say, I received your information from website about, and then it's blank because there's no property address. So you have to really drill down into what data is the CRM receiving, what's the lead source name. Like for people who use Ylopo, for example, I've seen people say, I received your information from Ylopo. Like you don't want to use that merge field. You want it to actually have your website address. The other thing is writing emails that are empathetic and human sounding. So I really like I'm inspired a lot by the communication styles of Phil Jones and Jimmy Mackin, where he uses those magic phrases or magic words in order to capture the person's attention. And I'm always writing emails not about me. So especially for the new leads, it's not like, look at all I can do. Look at this buyer guide that I created, this relocation guide, how many homes I've sold. It's more about the person is thinking what's in it for me. So any email or text that's crafted is in the best interest of the person and always providing value without trying to ask for something in return.
So good. I think this one, a lot of our moms will probably resonate with. So she says, referrals are the heart of my business. So how should my setup be different than someone who's chasing online leads all day?
It depends on whether or not you connect with the referral when you're adding them to the CRM. Most people, when you receive a referral, you're connecting with them as soon as you get the contact information. In that case, you add them directly to a hot, warm, or cold. You tag them based on the client type, and they go through the rest of the funnel. The only thing that they're missing and they don't go through is that new lead flow. They don't need to be dripped like, I received your information from Facebook regarding a home for sale. Like you've already had that connection and then you can move on. Or if it's like a pay at closing type thing, then yes, that would go through the lead flow and you would initiate like, I received that you're interested in potentially buying a home through the Ramsey, they keep changing the name, Dave Ramsey's Home Services or whatever it is. I can't remember. In that case, then they would go through the regular lead flow. Or if you meet someone at an open house. I know some people will do pen and paper sign-ins and some people will do electronic sign-ins. What's really cool is regardless of which way you go, I highly recommend using Curb Hero, which is free for solo agents. And even if you're doing pen and paper after the open house, enter the people in through Curb Hero as if you were filling it out for that as them. And they flow into the CRM automatically and get added to the drip where it references the open house they went to. So there are some scenarios where they will go through that regular initial lead flow, but then everyone else starts in the middle. They start in the hot, warm, or cold, and you just tag them based on the type of client they are. If they're both buying and selling, you would tag them buyer/seller.
I love that. Kristen, do you have a question?
No, it's all just really, really good and really eye-opening.
Yeah. Well, and I have a personal question. So I was a little bit terrified to hit yes to Automations 2.0 and FUB. So should I hit yes to Automations 2.0?
How honest can I be?
You can be as honest. Yeah, be as honest as you want.
No.
Okay, good.
Don't do
Glad
it.
I didn't.
There are still bugs that need to be worked out. I'm hoping that they fix them before launch, but I think we just sent them a video on Friday of something else we discovered because they're building it from the ground up. I don't know why they weren't just using the existing 1.0 as like the foundation. Maybe it's because it was using an older like code language and they couldn't build on it, but they're building it from the ground up again. So some things that are available in 1.0 are not available in 2.0. We're like, wait, no, we're going backwards in time as if it's like 1990. I can't edit. What we discovered is you can't edit an email template in the campaign. You have to like find out, you have to go to the campaign, and it was just like adding hours worth of work. I'm like, this should be there. So we just keep finding little things like that where I say, no, I'm not confident in switching to 2.0 until we're forced to. I was told February, but we'll see.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm so glad I didn't just, I
I
was
know,
like,
I'm
yes,
glad
I'm
you
just going to
asked.
hit it. I'm just going to hit it. But I love that. And to those moms watching, I know we have lots watching, you know, this can be something that's really overwhelming. And so that is one of the reasons Kristen and I were so excited to partner with Elena, because even myself, that is pretty savvy on this stuff. And I've been running a CRM in one capacity or another for 20 years. Our businesses change, our seasons change, our models change, different things change. And it's so important that we keep our systems updated, and that can be overwhelming. And so we just want you to remember that Elena is a resource here all the time in Moms in Real Estate. You can reach out to her. Is there a fee for the audit, Elena?
No, it's free. We just need your login credentials, and we record like a 15 to 20-minute video going through the entire back end of your system and identifying potential gaps, showing you what's working and what's not working.
Well, we got to get this message out to the whole Moms in Real Estate community, because if you don't take this audit opportunity, that is a huge miss, because inevitably somebody with a trained eye like Elena that just understands the back end is going to be able to offer something so valuable in an audit like that. So thank you so much. This was so good today. And Kristen is actually, I know this is a little bit of a hack, but Kristen is actually stepping into the CRM world after a lifetime of not living in
Randy,
it.
we've been telling the community this for like 3 months.
It's happened. It's happened. She has her account as of today. She has her account. And so I can't wait to see her actually get in there and work it. It's gonna.
I do have my own type of CRM. It's just not like this. I use Flowdesk very actively. I use my Google Calendar. However, this is just like that next level. And even what you're saying about like batching emails, I'm just like sitting here going, oh my gosh, I feel like I've been doing so much wrong. So this was so informative, even for somebody who's actively been doing emails and getting business from emails for 3 years now.
Yeah, and I would reframe that. I'm all about reframing mindsets. I wouldn't say that you've been doing it wrong. I would just reframe it as you're learning, and now you're going to be in the top 1%. Like you already were above average. Now let's get you to the top 1% to get the majority of your emails read and seen and responded to.
Yes, I love that.
So good. So good. Well, thank you so much. And ladies, make sure to connect with Elena. If you missed a QR code, you can always go over to heymire.com and get all her information there as well. So thank you, ladies, so much.
Yes, thank you for having me today. It was fun.
Bye.
Yes, it was. Bye, ladies.
Bye-bye.